Guilt and shame play such a big part in addiction. It not only greatly influences and impacts the person with the substance abuse issues, it also can kind of overtake the families as well. There's a lot of guilt and shame to go around on both sides of things. Maybe families, they feel like, especially parents, I know that a lot of times parents feel like they are, bad parents, they're responsible, they did this, there's a lot of shame, whether it's consciously or subconsciously. A lot of times these things happen subconsciously in the back of our minds, and it's important to pay attention to how we are talking about ourselves in these situations and how we can actually better the situation when we start listening and paying attention and changing some of those inner voices inside of our own heads to relieve ourselves some of that of this shame and guilt that we may be feeling as well, in terms of dealing with people. Now, on the substance abuse side, it's big because, and I know from that side of things, I had a lot of shame in my own addiction. I did a lot of things that were really against a lot of the things that I believed that were right and just and all that. I did a lot of things that were really against my values. And I had a lot of shame because I really truly felt like I was that person. I felt like a bad person. Actually, even in my recovery, it took me, the first 5 or 6 years, I believed that I was still that person, that all that recovery was doing was taming that beast that was inside of me. It was like keeping him on a leash, but that leash could break at any time. Like, that's the visual that I had when I was thinking this. So I always felt like I had this monster that was going to be unleashed one time into the world unless I did all of these things right. But I still felt like that person. And I know that I felt like that person because when I would go into the gas station and be talking to the gas station attendant or the grocery store checker or whoever was not part of recovery and understanding me, I was telling myself in the back of my mind of going, I'm a horrible person that has a beast inside of me that is going to be unleashed on you, and you have no idea what I'm capable of. And it really came to light when I started getting more involved into communities that had nothing to do with recovery or addiction or substance abuse or anything like that. When I started doing more hobbies that involved normal people, it really, that train of thought surfaced to the point that I really had to look at it and go, wait, I actually really believe I'm a bad person. That I'm trying to do good things, but I'm really a bad person. And at some point I actually had to flip that around for myself. And I spent a lot of time working on that alone, where it was I am not a bad person. I did bad things a long time ago, but that does not make me who I am as a person. This is who I really am at the core, and I don't have some monster lurking inside of me. I don't, it's not there. It's not something to be chained up, but I believe that both from myself and from the culture of the way that we talk about addiction. So some of that is both myself and culturally the word choices that we use. So language is really important. And I cannot emphasize this enough. Language is important on the way that we talk about ourselves and culturally the way that we speak about addiction. And we speak about people that are in substance abuse and that kind of understanding. And that can take some time. I've been reading, and I talk a lot about guilt and shame, but I've been reading Brené Brown, and I think Brené Brown is great. And I've been reading this book, and it's called Daring Greatly, and it's all about vulnerability. And she explains guilt and shame. If you don't read, if you're not much of a reader, but you do have a loved one in substance abuse, I would really invite you to at least read what she says about guilt and shame and how she describes it, because she is so eloquent and there's so much data and research in how she has framed guilt and shame and the understanding, I think it's really powerful. But right now, I just want to read like 3 paragraphs because I think it's beautiful and I think it will help you in understanding better of how you can help your loved one and how you can, most importantly, help you see yourself and help you in terms of helping your loved one see themselves. Because right now they are full of shame. I can tell you that. Even if they don't present it, they are full of shame. They really believe they are these people. And sometimes what they need more than trying to shame them into getting their act right, we actually need to remind them of who they really are. So I just want to read these 3 paragraphs real quick to distinguish the two. So, when we apologize, this is about guilt. When we apologize for something we've done, make amends, or change a behavior that doesn't align with our values, guilt, not shame, is most often the driving force. We feel guilty when we hold up something we've done or failed to do against our values and find they don't match up. It's an uncomfortable feeling, but one that's helpful. The psychological discomfort, something similar to cognitive dissonance, is what motivates meaningful change. Guilt is just as powerful as shame, but its influence is positive, while shame's is destructive. In fact, in my research, I found that shame corrodes the very part of us that believes we can change and do better. We live in a world where most people still subscribe to the belief that shame is a good tool for keeping people in line. Not only is this wrong, but it's dangerous. Shame is highly correlated with addiction, violence, aggression, depression, eating disorders, and bullying. Researchers don't find shame correlated with positive outcomes at all. There are no data to support that shame is a helpful compass for good behavior. In fact, shame is much more likely to be the cause of destructive and hurtful behaviors than it is to be the solution. Again, it is the human nature to want to feel worthy of love and belonging. When we experience shame, we feel disconnected and desperate for worthiness. When we're hurting, either full of shame or even just feeling the fear of shame, we are more likely to engage into self-destructive behaviors and to attack or shame others. So I wanted to point that out because I wanted to point out that shaming is not a good tool in order to get people in line, but sometimes we use it because we don't have any other tools to know. But here's another way of going about this. When people have substance use, they are already feeling so much more shame than you can ever imagine. We have to remind them who they really are as a person. We can help them distinguish the difference between feeling guilty about the things that they are doing and being ashamed or having that shame and reminding them of who they are. You can help them by changing their own word choices in the way they use to describe themselves. So if they're saying, I am a bad person, I am whatever, we can help them by saying, hey, you are not a bad person. You are just not doing all of the right things, but I believe in you. I have faith in you. I know that you can change these things, and I get that you're feeling guilty, but you are not a bad person. So I hope this was really helpful. I always like to end with remembering what tough love really is. Tough love is not about being tough on them. It's about sometimes having to make decisions that are tough to do, and sometimes swallowing our own pride and not shaming others when we get so resentful and so angry that reminding them of the person that they are, that is sometimes a decision that can be tough to do. So I hope this was helpful, and I hope you have a good day.